Doug Ducey, remembering that a strong border is something that is very popular within his own party and for the vast majority of the state at large, dispatches the National Guard after the federal government let everybody down with what they've been doing. But the guy who's actually in control of the state is taking action. You love to see it. So he sent the National Guard to the border. State of emergency declared in 6 counties. Just about all of them, but the ones that matter, actually. The ones that are at least along the border. We can say that. Governor Doug Ducey will dispatch the National Guard to the southern border in response to recent increase in migrants, just migrants, not illegal aliens or anything, being apprehended by the Border Patrol. His office announced Tuesday. The Republican leader also declared a state of emergency in 4 border counties: Cochise, Pima, Santa Cruz, and Yuma, as well as Maricopa and Pinal. That takes up just about the entirety of the state, except for like the northwestern corner of the state. I think pretty much everything else is taken care of, at least all of the big population centers. The U.S. Border Patrol is overwhelmed. Local law enforcement and mayors are calling out for help, Ducey said in a video outlining his rationale. Citizens on our border communities are concerned for their safety, and nonprofits left to pick up the pieces of broken federal policies are strained. And yet we still haven't received an adequate response from Joe Biden's administration. Yeah, and that still tends to be the case, because Joe Biden geography is just, hey, what? Come on, man. I think the Texas border, it's the only one that's with Mexico. I remember when we had to buy Texas from Mexico. You guys remember that? There's an Arizona now. The governor for weeks has held Biden solely responsible for the migrant surge. Also fair. What are you trying to assert something different, USA Today? Pointing to the Democrats' decision to reverse a series of aggressive immigration policies implemented by his predecessor. Who's that? You don't want to call him out by name? Fine. The Orange Man. During a visit to the U.S.-Mexico border last month, Ducey blasted Biden and his administration for being totally divorced from the reality on the ground. Very much so. And he'd asked them to come down and see the horrific conditions at the border, but they couldn't be asked. The president or vice president, whatever she is today, not planning on going down there, and if you ask her about her, she'll cackle horribly. And Biden's still prepping for his address of the Joint House of Congress speech he has to give. And probably also the State of the Union address. When's your next press conference, you old cuck? But at least the wonderful moderate senators that Arizona has right now, the 2 Democrats out there, they are urging Biden to reimburse Arizona for National Guard border troops. That's definitely not going to happen, but it's nice to virtue signal. 2 Democrat senators on April 21st called on Joe Biden to reimburse their state for sending National Guard personnel to the border to help deal with the immigration crisis. What? There's not a crisis. Oh no, there is. That's what I said in that parking lot. And then the White House had to come out and make their own statement saying that there is no crisis. So if they're calling for a reimbursement for a crisis that they don't acknowledge, will they ever receive the funds that they're asking for? Nah, of course not. So yes, we can't understate the job that Ducey remembered that he has and what he's been doing, because the state of Arizona has been quite busy lately. Sending on April 20th that he is sending 250 guardsmen to the border to deal with the surge in illegal immigrants attempting to cross and successfully crossing into the United States. It will cost some $25 million, not an insignificant amount of change. The situation of the border communities is just so bad, if not worse, than the coverage we've been seeing, Ducey told the press conference. It's become evidently clear that Arizona needs the National Guard, and the White House is aware of that. Yet, to this day, there has been no action from the administration, and it doesn't look like they're going to act anytime soon. If this administration isn't going to do anything, well, then we will. Good. Senators Kirsten Wine-Mom Sinema and Comrade Mark Kelly, who is going to be up for re-election in 2022 and definitely doesn't want to get primaried by Doug Ducey. Definitely not. Nope, 100% definitely doesn't. Well, he's not going to get primaried. He'll be running against him, I'd imagine. But yeah, that was a special election, especially in Arizona, because it was Jeff Flake's old seat. It's a very special election. So this is going to be the first 6-year term. Sinema's up in 2024. Can't come soon enough. Said that they back the deployment in a letter to Biden. How adorable. Kirsten Sinema is just an attention hog right now. If the Senate wasn't so split, she wouldn't be backing the filibuster as vehemently as she is. She just wants to come off as a moderate in order to dupe people that, you know what, maybe she can work across the aisle. No, just look at her platform. It is definitely counter to what the people of Arizona think, but they definitely legitimately voted for her. Definitely. Some of the resources are being provided through the recently signed American Rescue Plan. Additional personnel are needed at the border to ensure our communities are protected and migrants are treated fairly and humanely, they wrote. This need for a secure and orderly process at the United States border should not fall on the state of Arizona or Arizona border communities, they said, noting that some 500 Guard personnel are already deployed to the southern Arizona border sectors. As such, we request you reimburse the state of Arizona for the deployment, the governor announced yesterday, to border security and continue to increase DHS personnel who can further assist in the processing of migrants, of illegal aliens, securing the border, and executing important security missions. This is all lip service. Biden's not going to do any of this stuff. He won't even acknowledge that it's actually happening right now. It's nice that they're sticking up for their constituents, but still, they're always voting along party lines. So I don't judge people by what they say. I judge them on what they do. If you look up their voting record, they are very much partisan hacks. So don't fall for any of this rhetoric from Sinema and Kelly. They still suck. One out of a box and one from a Chinese box. But that one went to space, right, guys? I'm an astronaut. Even though he looks like dehydrated Dick Cheney who was left out in the sun too long. But we'll go from lip service to people following through on what they promised, okay? One of the states that unexpectedly, or maybe expectedly, flipped, who knows if you pay too much attention to any of the polls that were out there leading up to the 2020 presidential election, was, in fact, Arizona, the very state that we're talking about in this video right here. And they promised in the aftermath to get to the bottom of things, and we'll get to that very shortly, but at the same time, they want to shore things up so certain inconsistencies don't happen again. And now we got to go to a USA Today affiliate, and yeah, even they're reporting on this, so it sucks to suck. Joining in with what Georgia is doing, what Michigan is looking at doing, they're very close. They're getting up there. It just involves passing everything through on a veto-proof opposition that Gretchen the witch can't veto. But Arizona Senate votes to require ID with mailed ballot. Shock and horror! You're gonna have to prove that you are who you are when you request a mail-in ballot. I can't fucking believe it. Think of the children and the minorities and the illegal aliens that want to vote. Republicans in the state of Arizona in the Senate voted Monday to require voters to include identification paperwork with their mailed ballots, insisting their motives aren't racist as Democrats continued the measure that would have outsized impacts on voters of color. Why? Because you think that they're too stupid to get an ID? The measure is one of the most controversial of dozens of election bills introduced this year in Arizona. It comes as the Republican-controlled legislatures around the country are adding new voting requirements after the Orange Man lost his re-election bid in November. Oh no. It's because this used to be a Democrat talking point, just like voting machines, which we don't really need to get into. Just ask Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar what their opinions on voting machines were up until the 2020 presidential election. The measure was approved Monday, would impose a new step for the process of mail voting. That's how it should be. You shouldn't let the other ones. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this is mail with an I. Which now accounts for 80% of the ballots cast in Arizona. Yeah, because they're very old. Okay, and a lot of people are also sunbirds that can vote in Arizona as well. So sunbirds, snowbirds, whatever. Voters would have to include an affidavit with their birth certificate. Big scary word, right? No, you just have to provide notarized proof that you are who you are, with their birth date and the number of their driver's license, state ID, or tribal identification card. The shock and horror. I'm sure you probably have other alternatives as well, but Arizona is one of those big places that's fairly sprawling. Pretty much everybody of voting age is going to have a driver's license. So if you ask the people there, it's probably not that big of a deal, and they probably don't care that much. They just want accurate elections. Their forensic audit reported on this a long time ago. Been waiting for any movement on this, and guess what, guys? It's going to happen. And it's starting tomorrow, actually, so good timing on this one. Arizona Maricopa County delivers ballots equipment for 2020 election audit. Like I've said, always, after everything was all installed on the 20th of January, what we find out in this audit whether it be completely accurate, 100% on the level, terrific, wonderful. We should have went through this process to begin with. We could have saved a whole bunch of heartache. But let's just say something's not on the level. Something's a little bit off. Maybe Biden won by an even bigger margin. Maybe the signatures don't match. Who fucking knows? Something like that. It's not going to change anything right now. It sets precedent right now. It allows other states to have something to point to that something wasn't on the level. We were doing something pretty similar to what was happening in Arizona, and maybe we'll be looking at our books as well. We'll be using this as justification for pushing through those new voter identification requirements for mail-in ballots. Maybe just looking at mail-in ballots, looking at the studies and the research prior to 2020, after it was told to everybody that the 2020 election was the most secure election in history held by anybody ever. Totally believe us 100%. Well, cool. If that's the case, we're just going to double check the numbers. You probably don't mind us doing that, do you? No, just the Board of Commissioners doesn't want to comply with the subpoena that was placed in front of it. It took them 3 months to get around to this after the said subpoena was issued, and now we're just finally getting to it after everything has been installed as appropriate. So what did they get? What did they got? What are they going to be doing? Let's take a look. Voting equipment and more than 2 million ballots are delivered to the facility in the Arizona Maricopa County this week in preparation for the 2020 election audit set to start tomorrow, April 23rd. Equipment including 385 tabulators, just get some people, was delivered and unloaded at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Phoenix on April 21st, while boxes of ballots began arriving early on April 22nd. Maricopa County officials arrived for the deliveries, which took several trips and were supported by Maricopa County Sheriff's Office personnel to comply with the subpoenas from the state Senate. You just gloss over the fact that that subpoena has been a total nightmare. Officials who had sought to resist the subpoenas were overruled by a judge in February, and we're just getting to this at the end of April. Seems legit. Workers with 4 firms, including Cyber Ninjas, will conduct the audit of 2.1 million ballots. They're receiving $150,000. A One America Network news host helped raise at least another $150,000 for the effort. The process you have to go through in order to ensure that the proper processes were followed in the first place is astounding. Only when it's Republican, though. Just take a look at what's happening with Gavin Newsom, okay, and his recall effort. Oh, Democrats are just pulling out all the stops to make sure that all of those signatures match. But yeah, you have to go to outside officials in order to raise the proper amount of money to get this off the ground. The audit will be streamed live on One America News Network. People also can catch the audit online there at that link. Auditors will examine the state's system that checks voters in at polling sites, inspect the hand-counted ballots, and review the electronic voting systems. They will produce a report detailing their findings in about 60 days, so in about 2 months' time, so on or around Independence Day. Nice timing. It isn't clear how long the audit will take. The agreement giving auditors use of the area runs through May 14th. Phones and recording devices are not allowed into the observation area, where observers from all political parties and independents will watch the ballot counting. Maricopa County Sheriff's Office personnel will provide security for the audit, so at least it's all on the up and up so far. Senate President Karen Fann, a Republican, said last month that the audit will provide assurance that the 2020 results were accurate. That's all we're asking. Jack Sellers, the Republican chairman of Maricopa County's Board of Supervisors, said that on March 31st, that 2 extensive and independent audits the month prior showed no evidence of equipment malfunctioning or foul play. Yeah, cool, but can we look at the balance, though? Showed no evidence of equipment malfunction or foul play. And by audits, he means recounts. Arizona's Secretary of State, this blue-haired bitch, has asserted that the audit will be biased. No, everybody's allowed to see it. We must have very different interpretations of what the term bias. Her office did not immediately respond to a request for comment by the Epoch Times, because of course not. And yes, Arizona flipped blue for the first time since Clinton's first run, I think. Arizona's kind of weird. But for the most part, it's very, very Republican. If you just kind of sequester out the Californians that frequent the place from time to time. Like I said, I'm very interested to see where this goes. It might open up a Pandora's box. It might be a nothing burger, but people are entitled to know that their votes mattered. They are entitled to know that nothing funny happened, and they shouldn't have had to jump through all of these hoops in order to get here, but we finally arrived, so we'll be paying attention to this. They have 60 days to produce a report. They have until May 14th to get everything counted and sorted. Everything's going to be televised. Everything's going to be recorded. It's going to be on the up and up, and this is about as clean of an investigation as anybody is going to get. So you got to live and die by these results unless the facility burns down or something fucking goofy like that. Who knows? Does anybody have any leads as to where the Clintons are right now? Well, let's ask Hunter if he knows where its crack pipe's at. So yeah, enough politics for the day. You guys enjoy what is left of your Thursday. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.